Hello and welcome to this part of tutorial. In this part we will learn about switch statements. But before we go through switch statements, I would like to introduce you to ternary operator. That is the question mark operator. A ternary operator, when written like this, is equivalent to this which is shown in comments. Consider we have a variable I with the value 7 and we have written int j is equal to I greater than 5 question mark 4 colon 0. What it means is if I is greater than 5, the value of j will be 4. Otherwise, if I is not greater than 5, then the value of j will be 0. So this statement is a shorthand for this one if else. Switch statements are basically replacement of if else. Switch is a nice and elegant way to write if else. That is, when you have lots of else if statements, you can write an equivalent switch statement. Note that switch statement takes only an integer as an argument over here. It will not take a float. It will not take a string. For example, if I say a float 2.4, it will say switch quantity not an integer. It will not take anything other than integer. Now in our case, a character being integral quantity, it will take a character. Okay. Now switch has two different types of labels. One is case. This means case 1. That is, if I is 1, then it will execute this code and break. That is, do not execute remaining of the switch. Similarly, we have case 2 and we have a break. Now, this is interesting. We have case 5, but we did nothing. And we have case 7. We printed I. This is known as a fall through of a switch. And this is helpful when you have common operations for different cases. And then we have break. However, note that fall through is very uncommon even in very complex code. It's very uncommon. You will rarely find someone using a fall through in a switch. Very rare. And last, we have a default label. This is not mandatory to have, but you should use it to provide a default behavior. For example, if I is not 1, I is not 2, I is not 5, I is not 7, then I have a default. Like if 1, else if 2, else if 5, else if 7, else. So default is more like an else of an if else ladder. Let us run this program and see what happens. I will set it 1 in the beginning. Let's run it. So it printed 1 over here. Fair enough. And now we run it 2. Okay. 5. Okay. So 5 over here. Now I say it is 9. So invalid integer from default. You can nest switch inside switch. So you can write another switch over here, entire switch. That is not a problem like nested if else. However, note that if you nest switches inside one another, they look very ugly and you should try to avoid that. Better use if else if you want nesting. Nested switches do not look ugly. So switches are pretty simple to use, pretty straightforward. There is no confusion and shouldn't have any problem in doing this. You can another way to look at this is, say you want to process some command line arguments. In that case, say I have a char c which is argument, and I say if this is A, I'll do something. If this is B, I'll do something. In case of small d and capital D, I want to do the same thing. So you get an idea that how switches are used to handle a variety of things. It is used to create a menu, like these menus are created using this. These are function pointers internally and they are put into a switch that depending upon the ID you call them. So that's it from my side on switches, and starting from next tutorial we will learn something about user input, which is very important, very essential and fundamental part of any programming language, and we'll see what mechanisms C has given to us to take input. And when we say input, we will deal specifically with keyboard input, not file input, only keyboard input, not even mouse input. C standard library does not give you mouse input. So till then, happy coding.